Do you guys think that WOTC made some mistakes with lessons? I think looking at Worlds and the state of Standard, I think there's a couple places that they went wrong, and we're going to talk today about lessons, just the whole topic, not just Standard. I'm not even a Standard player, really. I don't even know why I'm mad about Standard. But we're going to go over lessons, the whole breadth of it, and we did our research, so hopefully you learned something. How do you feel?
Yeah, I think the way they implemented lessons leaves a lot to be desired, as we saw, like you mentioned, from Worlds and other Standard tournaments, the metagame share that lessons has. There's kind of a lot going on under the hood, so...
Alright, so my first complaint with lessons has absolutely nothing to do with power level intrinsically, but it will wrap around power level eventually. So lessons, the original Strixhaven, the old school lessons, they started off as this dual mechanic, this coupled mechanic. There was lessons that was just like a tag you put on the card, like a creature type, a sorcery type lesson, and learn, which were cards that grabbed lessons from outside the game, which means your sideboard 99% of the time. And that they were grouped, and the new lessons they've made there's no learn cards in they're not learning. WotC's not learning from their own mistakes. Anyway, I don't know where I'm going with this. But yeah, the old lessons were tied to this mechanic, and it's sort of, there were rules to the lessons. They were all sorceries. They all cost a mana more than that typical effect would cost. It was very conservative. It was very much, this is the mechanic for limited. And new lessons, it's just like a tag they put on the cards. It's just like, arcane, like you look at a spell, a Waking Nightmare, and it's just a mind rot with arcane. It's just like this thing that they put on the card to be like a creature type for spells. Mm-hmm. And there's other cards that care about them. Now we have that Abandoned Attachments. It's like Thrill of Possibilities, but it's an arcane spell now, right, for whatever reason.
Yeah.
So like they took this thing that was strictly tied to this other mechanic, and they divorced it from that mechanic, but also it's backwards compatible.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so it actually interacts with all of the older learn cards that were printed years ago.
Yeah. So just the way the lesson mechanic learned in lesson works is just baseline busted, in my opinion. Mm-hmm. It's like you add like draw a card to a card, but instead of draw a card, it's draw a spell and you choose which one it is. Like it's a tutor. And the reason why it wasn't busted and didn't break constructed was because it was designed for limited. It was super conservative. It was like, these cards are going to be so bad that even if you get, to put this card draw spell, this artifact removal, this creature removal, all those in your sideboard to tutor for, it's not going to be an issue because they're not good enough. Mm-hmm. But with the new ones they printed, there's a bunch, the first Metal Bender, I forget. It's like Introduction to Metal Bend. I don't know. Mm-hmm. The Metal Bending card is just naturalized, whereas the old Strixhaven card was Containment Breach, right? Mm-hmm. And that was, old one was 3 mana naturalized. The new one is just naturalized for 2 mana, which is just like the rate that card normally is, but now you can tutor for it, right, and you never have to draw it. It also has another mode on it.
Yeah. So all this, you keep mentioning tutoring these cards and drawing these cards. Kind of walk us through how the mechanic was intended to work and how it was coupled for the people that haven't been playing since Strixhaven.
That's fair. Strixhaven, as much as I hate to admit it, was pretty long ago. Yeah. So yeah, the original mechanic, some cards would just say, it would just be a card that does a normal effect, like draw. Pop quiz was 3 mana, draw a card, learn. So learn is you can grab a card from your sideboard with lesson subtype type. I don't know. Or you can discard a card from your hand and draw a card. So if you run out of lessons, you can still do something. Learn is even more broken than tutoring.
Right.
It just always works if you want it to.
Mm-hmm.
So, Pop Quiz was basically divination, but you draw a random card from your deck and then a card of your choice from your sideboard. Mm-hmm. And it was super interesting and limited because you got to draft, your 23 main deck playables, but also your lesson board of like 2 to 5 spells, however many you could afford to get, and how well you drafted affected how many extra picks you got to go to your sideboard to make your lessons. Like your learn cards were sometimes really good because you had like 5 cards to grab, and sometimes the second learn card you cast just doesn't have anything to grab and you can only loot.
Yeah, so to reference what you were saying before about how it was designed for limited, I mean, like you said about when you draft really well, you get those extra cards and extra power on your sideboard. I really like that about the initial design philosophy and the way they implemented lessons and learn. When we first saw it, if you drafted a deck and you were already at 20 playables going into pack 3, you could just take every lesson in your colors and your deck just got that much better without cutting lands or without opening bombs, and it just gave you much more versatility. But it doesn't sound like that's how this kind of iteration worked at all.
Yeah, it rewarded you for drafting well. But yeah, this current iteration, there's no learn cards, so it's just some cards are lessons.
Right. Yeah, it's just thematic.
At
least in the way that it plays out.
And I mentioned it's like arcane. It's like just like a tag. So what arcane originally was they didn't have what are they? They originally called it tribal, but they don't call it that anymore. Kindred. They have so they wanted to do like spirits theme, but you couldn't. If you drafted a deck with all creatures to make your spirit cards work, it didn't really work. So they needed to make sorceries that were spirits, instant sorceries that were spirits. So they made them arcane, and then they also worked with splice into arcane, which is a different couple of mechanics we won't get into, but they double dipped a bit. So what they've done now is sort of just like gave us a bunch of arcane cards, but they call them lessons, despite the fact that they don't really work like the old lessons, but they do work with the old learn lessons. And all the old lessons and all the new lessons, which will come up soon, will work with these lessons. So as good as Gran is, she's going to get better when we go back to Strixhaven, which is what we're doing.
Because we're going to get more learn cards.
Yes. We're going to get more learn cards, more lessons. So, assuming new Strixhaven follows the old format of like the lessons are going to be bad on purpose, but the learn will be good, then maybe it won't buff Gran that much, but typically there'll be like 1 or 2 pushed lessons and 1 or 2 pushed learn cards.
Right.
So it's, like that's the why, is we're going back to Strixhaven. They want cards, they don't want insular mechanics. So an insular mechanic is, the example I have is there's like an back in my day. Back in Extended, there was like a Madness deck, which was just an Odyssey block deck with dazes and like foil. I don't know, whatever the free counter magic was. It was just like it was just a block deck with a couple, some better lands, some dazes, and WOTC hated that. They're like, oh well, we printed this whole deck in one block, and it's not really a magic deck, it's an Odyssey deck, so they said they weren't going to do that. We're going to try to branch it out, make cards work across sets, so there's some meaning to the collectability of the game. It's not like you buy your starter deck and that's your deck,
right,
and then when you need a new deck you buy another deck,
right.
So they want, there's these food cards in
Eldraine.
in Eldraine. Well, let's put food in Lord of the Rings, and let's put food in Modern Horizons 2. They just keep coming back to food because, like, oh, it works.
Mm-hmm.
So that's sort of what they're doing here. Is they're like, oh, well, we're going back to Strixhaven. Let's put lessons in Avatar.
Mm-hmm.
They don't work with anything else yet. They're like their own self-contained thing in Standard.
They're just planting little seeds.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
But the problem is, they're like, oh, well, if we just make lessons and they're not good enough in Avatar, no one will play with them. And then we have this whole Avatar set that no one plays with.
Mm-hmm.
So, okay, let's just push the lessons so that there's just a lessons deck.
Mm-hmm.
And here we are.
Yeah, because you mentioned that in the first iteration of lessons and learn cards, because you were intended to tutor for all the lessons,
Yeah.
they were all costed very conservatively. They all cost at least one more than what the card would otherwise cost, because you have that kind of flexibility.
Yeah.
But Avatar being intended to be played without learn cards, all of the cards are costed like regular old cards.
Yeah. Or the Abandoned Attachment, I said, was Thrill of Possibilities,
Mhm.
but it's hybrid. You can play it in blue.
Mm-hmm.
It's just way easier to cast, and you discard when it resolves. So if they counter it, you're not out 2 cards.
Yeah, so it's a better
It's-
Thrill of
yeah.
Possibilities.
Strictly better. Well, not strictly, but it's better. It's easier to cast.
Mhm.
It goes into more commander decks.
And now it's a lesson.
Now it's a lesson.
You know?
Naturalize. I mean, there's been better naturalizes, but
Mhm.
now we have naturalize that gives a creature indestructible and you can tutor for.
Right.
There's, they've been maybe not pushing it because these are all like fine cards on their own, but
Mhm.
turns out the payoff card being like Ancestral Recall
Right.
might have been a bit too much.
Yeah.
And the older sets you go to, the less good Ancestral Recall with stipulations is.
Mm-hmm.
Because, like, in Pioneer, for instance, people don't play Thrill of Possibilities.
Right.
And they have to put they have to put Abandoned Attachments in their decks now to make lessons enough to make Accumulate Wisdom
Mm-hmm.
actually ancestral or actually draw 3.
Mm-hmm.
And now you also need Grand, which
You
Grand's
jump
pretty
through
good.
a couple of hoops,
Yeah.
though. Yeah.
So, like, it sort of solves itself, but the thing is, if they keep going back to lessons, they're just going to keep getting better each time.
Right.
Which is
Right.
standard fare for Magic, I'll say. But it's
Yeah.
uniquely tricky with this one because it involves tutoring your sideboard.
Right. I mean, I agree. I think in this iteration, every time they print learn and lessons, it's going to get better because you're going to get more learn cards and more lessons. But because philosophically they changed the way that they approach these lessons, it's a completely different animal. I mean, if we didn't have Avatar with all of these playable lessons that were costed such that they should be playable even without tutoring or versatility, if that set didn't exist and we just got Strixhaven and it just had another set of differently costed and statted learn cards and differently costed and affected lesson cards, both the lessons and learn cards from before would get better because you just have more options. The real issue is that now we have these cards that are costed that they should be played even without learn cards, but we can play them with the old learn cards and with the future learn cards. So it's not just an issue of, the set of cards that you have growing larger and so, things get better as a whole. It's that they kind of jumped an entire level up and they said, not only are lessons going to get better because there's going to be more of them, we're also going to get better because they're costed less. They are typed differently. Sorceries became instants.
Yeah.
They got different modalities. A lot of these cards have multiple choices. So not only can you tutor them from your sideboard, but they also do different things when you need different things.
Yeah.
Like the versatility just branched, in a whole different direction here.
So my example isn't actually true because it's an uncommon, but Sokka's Haiku is like, you don't know when I called it Cryptic Command, but
Dismiss.
it's counter draw and it untaps the land, I think, right?
Mm-hmm. Yes.
So it was going to be, I have to put lessons in my Pauper Cube because you you can just tutor for cryptic command, but it's an uncommon, so it won't happen. But maybe an uncommon cube, that's good enough. But like, imagine, I feel like cryptic dismiss is a tough card to play against for new players, especially when they always have it every game. Or like if they're behind, they just grab something else, and if they're ahead, they just go, "Oh, I'll just grab this card that counters and draws."
Yeah.
What are you gonna do?
I mean, another thing, just going back to the versatility of it, is if you're not far enough ahead that you can hold up cryptic/dismiss, you can just find it'll quench you.
Yeah.
You can just find a miscalc or a quench in this case instead. So you get the optionality of it.
You can find the shock that turns the burst lightning, basically the firebending lesson. So yeah, you can find a small removal spell or a big removal spell all on the same card. And then there's another card that combustion technique, that's just a bigger removal spell that scales in a different way. They're pushing on different levels, but they're pushing on a couple of them this one time, and then they're going to push the other one at Strixhaven. We're going to get more learn cards, and if they're bad on purpose, it's not going to go over well.
Right.
So they kind of have to be good.
Right.
So,
but when it comes to revisiting mechanics overall, I mean, I think that you would want them to revisit insular mechanics to kind of flesh them out, print new learn cards or new lesson cards, for example. It seems like this was more on the execution where they actually kind of went wrong here. I mean, what do you think about Commander products, for example? Just a one-off here and there, they print a new lesson or a new learn card, just for people to play with. It's tough because those cards, lesson and learn aren't good enough for Legacy or Vintage, so getting them in a Commander product here and there doesn't really help. You can't play these cards in Commander because you don't have a sideboard. But what about just randomly bringing back support for other mechanics in Foundations, for example?
So I like that, and there's a reason they don't do it. So I guess Little Detour is original Time Spiral. I guess there's not been a second time. Time Spiral block had like a snow creature centaur randomly in there as just like a, by the way guys, we didn't forget about the snow
stuff.
Super type. And nothing really, but like it was also close enough to Cold Snap being in standard, like they were in standard together. But they didn't have like a random arcane card, So like there's a reason they don't do that. It's because most people open a pack and they go like, oh, what does this snow mean? What does this arcane mean? And they could very easily just like print a couple more arcane cards in Commander products, and they don't. So they could do lessons like that, but they don't. And I think there's just like a lot of rules baggage.
That they don't want people to have to...
It's like they want to look at the card and know what it does and not get caught up on this thing that doesn't... Like, you show someone the Commander deck and it just has like a... what do they call it? Waking Nightmare, the like Mind Rot. You're just like, oh, you wanted the 7th Mind Rot in this Commander deck, and they're just like, what is this arcane mean? Like, it doesn't matter.
Right.
It's not going to come up. It's like, oh, what I have Through the Breach in Cube. What is this arcane spice nonsense? It doesn't come up in Cube.
This actually, not to get even further off topic, came up recently with the iteration of the Arena Cube. Some of the cards were excluded. One of them was Through the Breach because it had Splice. And a lot of people that I know were saying, look, put Through the Breach on the cube, cut the word Splice. It doesn't matter. Like, it plays the exact same.
To the universes within version of Through the... Or just have it say Splice, but don't have it mean it. Make it flavor text.
It can be unfunctional,
And doesn't change what the card does. But it's like this weird thing where some people are like, well, I'm right-clicking on the card and it's not showing me what Splice does and means. So, I don't know. It
leads down a bunch of different rabbit holes to do it that way, I suppose.
It makes for bad user experience when they have this meaningless text. And that was one of... We had like another episode, like Lessons for New Players. That was one of the hang-ups. Was like, every once in a while there'll be a card like the Underworld Cookbook that says like 4 mana, sack, return a creature, and that's like you very rarely use that ability. The real card is the tap, discard, get a food. And a lot of people will like, oh, I'm not this part of the card's bad, so the card must be bad. When it's really, what does the card usually do, and go from there.
Right.
So it's one of those like it adds confusion, bad user experience, and that's why they don't do it. But also I don't like it. Every once in a while, they'll downgrade a card from uncommon to common to like seed it into Pauper. Like, oh, let's give the Pauper players this card that they might want. And that's sort of what adding lesson to a random card is like. Where it's like, let's give the learners this thing, you know? The late life learners. So like, I don't really like that idea. Like it should be thematic. And I'm sure there was like, they could have put a bunch of arcane cards in Return to Kamigawa because it makes sense thematically. There's definitely, isn't there a learn card like something of the Archaics? That could be arcane.
Teaching of the Archaics.
Yeah. That could be a lesson arcane.
Oh my god. People would lose their minds.
There's no reason for it not to be, but there's also no reason for it to be. So they don't do it like that. But yeah, we were getting a bit off topic.
Yeah, so then, I mean, we've discussed all the reasons why they wouldn't print lessons without learn. I mean, what's a reason why they would? Why do you think they actually did it this way?
So, like I said, it's to tie in with Strixhaven to make it less insular, and I think a big part of this is we're having... I mean, we don't have all the data yet, but I think they're having a sort of universes beyond insular problem, where I'm an Avatar fan that's never played Magic before. I get into Magic to play Avatar. I've got this, lessons. I can play mostly Avatar cards. I don't actually know the makeup of the lessons, but I imagine there's a lot of Avatar cards.
Almost all Avatar cards.
I can play my Avatar deck. It's good in Standard. I have a shot. I'm happy. Then Avatar rotates out of Standard 4 years from now, however these long it takes.
3 years, yeah.
Standard rotates crazy now, which I think they made it bigger so you can be the Avatar guy in Standard for longer. But anyway, it rotates out. Well, now I don't want to play Magic because I can't play Avatar in my Standard format. It's not good enough for Modern, which maybe it'll be good enough for Pioneer if that ever is a thing still. But yeah, so like, okay, how do we get me, Johnny Avatar, to keep playing? Well, if the whole Avatar thing is lessons, and we make you a lesson player as well as an Avatar player, that's your identity, is I'm the lesson guy. We can get more lessons into Standard with Strixhaven. Now you can figure out, I wasn't the Avatar guy, I'm the lesson guy. Right,
you can kind of transition from one into the other.
And then maybe lessons are gone, but maybe lessons leave eventually. Or like when Avatar rotates out, but Strixhaven is still in, like you can try to be the lesson guy and it doesn't work, but like maybe then you've been in for 5 years and you're hooked.
They gotcha, yeah, you're institutionalized.
I've sunk so much cost into buying Avatar and then the next set, and I thought, it was kind of fun mixing and matching this thing I liked Avatar with this thing I didn't know much about but learned about. So it's like getting people in the door and then keeping them there, which is like Universes Beyond is good because it's getting people in, but if they all leave, if it's just a revolving door of other fandoms, it's not worth it. It's not good.
Right.
We're not the number won't go up. It'll go up and then down with how good collaborators they get. So I think that's the main thing they're doing, is they're trying to keep the bridge, keep people and keep the through line of, okay, here's this Avatar thing, and then here's the thing that groups with it.
They give you just a taste of Magic with your Avatar product. The first one,
the
first Magic product is free, and then they're like, come on over to our next set.
Yeah, for Avatar is the designer drug designed just for you. And then once you're in for long enough, you get the same junk that everyone else gets.
Right.
Probably not the best metaphor, but
it works.
It
I
works.
think that Magic plays on a lot of that psychology.
But yeah, I just don't like that they sort of retconned this mechanic. Because like you're saying, they could have named these lessons, and it works backwards compatibly, it works future compatibly, but now they have to balance for that, which they don't do. They've told us they don't look at eternal formats as much. They design for standard, and if the new lesson they print in, it's like 1 mana learn is too good. Like if they do that in Strixhaven, it's like 1 blue instant learn. That turns out to be too good, then they'll just ban it, which is not the best policy, I would say.
I agree. From a design standpoint, saying print whatever and then just ban the broken stuff.
Yeah.
It hasn't worked out well for them in the past.
Because this is I like to call it a what's the word I said? Limiting factor. So there's it's like a phrase for populations or something. It's like if you have enough food for 10 deer and enough water for 5 deer, 5 deer will be the natural
Max
state
population.
Because once 6 deer show up, one of them will dehydrate and die. They'll all suffer until one of them suffers enough to go down to the right population. You can't sort of support 6 deer with only the minimum 5. So if learn's bad and that's what's keeping lessons down, then once they print better learn cards, all the backed up potential of all these lessons are good will be realized.
Yeah, it kind of catches up.
Yeah.
Right.
So that's what they're doing, is they're like, no one's playing the academic probation or whatever that card is, the 1 red learn. No one's playing that because lessons are bad. Let's just make the lessons good, and then maybe it'll be worth it. But once we get into we pushed the lessons last time, let's push the learn cards this time. Then all of a sudden,
the box is open. Cat's out of the bag.
Yeah. But they could have called the lessons I don't know, something else, Avatar lessons, just to make it a distinct name. It all would have worked exactly the same in standard. They could have called them Arcane. Would have not made Splice into Arcane busted because those cards are so old.
Right.
But I mean, people play Goryo's Vengeance and they don't have anything to splice it onto, so maybe a card printed in current year that you can put into modern Goryo's might actually improve it a little.
Maybe. Well, it would be nice if one of the cards that run through standard gets into some of these modern decks.
Yeah. I keep going back to abandoned attachments. The discard the card draw too. You can play blue mana. That would fit into some Goryo's decks. If that was Arcane, maybe you would play that to discard your legends and then splice onto it. It'd be a minor synergy, but it'd be there. That'd be cool. That's a good way to buff. But anyway.
I agree. In fact, I think that that's an example of how an insular mechanic being reapproached and reintroduced would be a good thing.
Yeah.
Give the cards from 15 years ago a little shot in the arm, as opposed to what they actually did, which is revisit an insular mechanic from 4 years ago and chop all of the costs in half, make them playable.
Yeah. And if it wasn't tutor your sideboard, because now, used to, if you wanted to play lessons, that some pauper decks have lesson boards. The Mogwarts, they called it, first day of class goblin combo.
Right.
We just have the introduction of prophecy, the one that searches for environmental sciences, they have and probably the one that kills a thing. I forget, the 5 mana kill a thing. They're probably just a little bit, but now when you go to like Pioneer or something, you're like, wisdom, accumulated wisdom is like a great draw spell.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe if you play lessons in the main deck, you play a bunch of those in the main because it's so good. But now you can grab small creature removal, artifact removal, the mascot card that makes a bunch of guys if you have a bunch of mana and nothing to do with it.
Counter spells, discard. Yeah, it does it all.
Like every new effect they put in, just turns your cantrip that's a tutor into something way better. There's a Farseek lesson, which is an interesting card in that you never want to draw it on turn 7, but you always want to draw it on turn 2. So once if they give us all the 1 mana learn cards in original Strixhaven, I believe, needed like target creature does this thing, or like the one dies. It's like an eye that has to die.
Always hoops to jump through to ever do it on 1. You could never learn on 1 reliably. So
now and they're going to push learn more than they did before. That's just how it works. So if they push learn, then we're gonna potentially run into this situation where like you can just have 4 Farseeks in your deck that you can, but only 1 because it just takes up a slot in your sideboard. And then on turn 7, you just grab your counter spell.
Right. Turns all of your cards into split cards that are Farseek on 2 and whatever the mascot exhibition of this new set will be.
Yeah.
So kind of restricts their design space in that way, right?
Yeah. And the original way they put it was like, learn is whatever, but we're limiting the lessons.
Yeah, because there were some reasonably well-costed learn cards. Like Professor of Symbology, it's just a 2-mana 2/1 that learns. Like, that card's pretty good.
Yeah. People play it in, or have played it in Greasefang just as a discard outlet, because learn loots, or rummages.
Rummages, yeah.
So it's just like, people were playing that card until Rafine's Informant got printed. People were just playing that card. I mean, sometimes people would play both. And now you just get to have a lesson board in your Greasefang deck. How could that go wrong?
Yeah. Nice rest in peace.
Yeah, you just have an answer.
Fight natural. Yeah, crazy.
So I don't know. It like I say, normally they print new cards, they synergize with old cards. Cards get better. Rising tides
Lift all boats.
Yeah. But now it's just like it just gets so it's exponential. It's strictly exponential.
Yeah.
So it's going to limit future design space, and the fact that they specifically said, oh, we're gonna hold back on the lessons, and then now this time they just reckless abandon with the lessons, doesn't give me hope that next Strixhaven they'll be like, oh, let's
dial it back.
Let's hold back on, like, if they hold back on lessons again and buff the learn cards. They're keeping with their original design format, but they're, finding an excuse to push in both directions at different times, but still pushing in both directions.
Correct. Well, things will be wonky in that way, too, where imagine if they print good learn cards and bad lessons, because you're going to use the good lessons that already exist.
Yeah.
When those rotate, you'll have good learn cards and bad lessons. You'll just be like, throw that out.
Yeah.
Get that out too. The whole deck will just get chopped. But
it's certainly fine. Like every once in a while they'll print a card that's like, super well designed for standard, and then breaks eternal formats like Treasure Cruise, Steel Overseer. Basically had nothing to do in standard, but it went right into Affinity. There's Deathrite Shaman.
Yeah, which was like kind of whatever in standard.
Yeah. It's whatever in Pioneer. It's nothing without fetches, but turns out fetches are free real estate. So it's, that happens, that's fine, but it feels like they're doing it on purpose. And they get to, we didn't really see this with energy the first time, but that's the way they could have designed energy. It was like a bunch of cards that are bad at making energy but good at using it, and then eventually made cards that were good at using energy but bad at making it, or the other way, or like cards that like make a ton of energy but all the cards use a lot of energy, but then the next set they would do small energy but use little energy, and then you just take the card that makes 6 energy for 2 mana, mix it with the, it's like the Eldrazi Temple with originally printed with only 8 drops, and then they put in, these 2 drops and 4 drops are busted.
Right.
So it's like they could have done that, but instead with original energy, they just like every card just makes 3 energy and uses 3 energy, so you know exactly what it does, and then they just work all together, the best of the best always. So like they could have done that and sort of gave us a pioneer level learn deck, but they just like didn't do that.
But again, that's an issue on balance and execution rather than in practice, right? Like if they just revisited Strixhaven and they were like, here are different but equally tame learn cards and lessons, like both learning and lessons would get better from that, just from the pool expanding.
Yeah.
But kind of not to this degree.
Yeah.
I mean, seeing not a learn deck, just a lessons deck kind of like crush it at Worlds, and you're like, oh no, like we're in for more of this.
This isn't even its final form.
Yeah, wait until you can have the whole deck in the sideboard.
Yeah.
And an entire separate deck playing. It's going to be like, I don't know. We're in for some rough times ahead, it looks like.
And we know they didn't intend for Vivi and Cauldron to be together in standard at the same, like they're not planning this as well, they're not coordinating this as well as they should be.
Right.
So.
Well, hopefully in this case, because it's so easy to see.
Yeah. This was done
down the road.
This was done on purpose, so maybe they've coordinated these teams like, hey, we're putting a bunch of lessons in this set. You're going to be learning from them in this other one. Let us know what we can and can't do.
Right.
But
one thing I'm worried about, we have no evidence of this, it's just speculation, is that lessons might have been done after some initial design in Strixhaven, and they were just like, thematically, hey, we know that lessons and learn are coming back. Like, we can make these avatar cards into lessons. And it could be one of those last-minute design changes that you hear about that end up breaking everything in kind of like a butterfly effect. So hopefully they don't have to seriously nerf some things in Strixhaven.
Yeah.
But time will tell on that one.
I feel like enough lessons are baked into the format. Like there's all these like grand cards that care about lessons. I think there's like enough of them that they couldn't have just like
last minute said make
slapped
30
it on,
lessons.
But who knows? It feels like they didn't appreciate how good Gran is.
Yeah.
I'm excited to try Gran in formats with Mox Amber.
I mean, there were a couple of misses. I mean, Boomerang Basics, like they just got discounting big enough out of the format, and Boomerang Basics just like stepped right in.
Yeah.
It's that Simpsons meme about throwing the guy out of the bar. It's like, get out of here, this town. And then Boomerang Basics is like, steps right in. I don't know. Just the combination of all of the cards being standard playable on their own without any kind of tutoring really has me scared about how weak the learn cards need to be in the future.
It's just like, if it wasn't every card is a tutor for your sideboard.
Right.
Like, that's like, it's hard to explain how good that is, where it's like, you get to put the Farseek in your deck, but you never draw it. You never have to draw it. It's, you put 4 Green Sun Zenith in your deck, you have a bunch of Llanowar Elves with your Dryad Arbor, but when you draw the Dryad Arbor, it's miserable. So you only play one, and it's like, oh, this is fine, it's worth it some of the time. But now you never have to draw your Dryad Arbor.
It is why Green Sun was banned for 10 years. is having a split card that is always what you need very early and never a 1-drop on turn 7 is incredibly powerful.
It's just like, oh, Llanowar Elf, Primeval Titan split card in my deck that's named after Primeval Titan and wants to ramp. And that's just like one of the decks that it could... Other decks, you know, it was originally designed to be like, you know, a 2-mana Llanowar Elf that turns into...
7-mana. Prime time, yeah.
I think it was more like a zoo card. Like, it was supposed to get your Goyf or whatever.
More like a Maverick.
Yeah, Maverick. It'd be like, you know, as the game goes on, your deck gets more filled with creatures because you're always shuffling a creature back in. And it's always your best creature. So it's probably go with like the pod piles maybe. But, you know, once you have a card like Primeval Titan, you're doing better things.
But these learn cards are just even better because even in the analogy of your deck having Primetime, Dryad Arbor...
Better on principle. Very few of them are better than Primetime.
Oh, yeah, I mean, of course, yeah. In principle,
you
know, your deck that has 4 Green Sun Zeniths and a Dryad Arbor so that you can, on turn 1, find it. And like you said, sometimes you draw it and it's miserable. The direct analogy to the Learn and Lesson is 4 Green Suns that all say Learn, and the Dryad Arbor's in your sideboard. Like, you never draw it.
Yeah.
You know?
And you never, like... If you have a Green Sun planning to ramp and you draw the Arbor right away, then it doesn't do that.
Right.
That's never going to happen.
Never.
It's turn 7, you just don't grab your Farseek. Unless you need to fix colors.
I mean, and like you mentioned before about Learn as a mechanic in general, sometimes you can just rummage.
Yeah.
Like, sometimes you need to hit a land. And so far, we don't have any lands with Lesson. I mean, there are spells that find lands, but sometimes you just need to rummage. I mean, the whole mechanic in general, I think that there was kind of room to explore it and different directions that could have taken it before they kind of pulled out all the stops.
Yeah.
And just said, like, listen, make them all playable even if you're not learning for them.
Yeah.
I feel like there's just a ton of room there that they just skipped right over. So.
Yeah. Wow, it's tough because it's not that tough. Just don't try to make them
that tough.
Don't try to make them broken. I don't know.
I mean, I'm hoping that in another few months we'll be sitting here and we'll be saying, like, man, they actually killed it.
Yeah, they got it.
Yeah, they balanced it just right. Strixhaven with lessons, learn, everything works out. WOTC's a genius. I hope, I'm praying that's what we'll be saying. I just have a pretty strong feeling that that's not the direction that we're headed.
It feels kind of like we're doing like a slippery slope argument where it's like, oh, we're arguing what they could do and how badly it could go, but also like worlds and standard and we already know it's good.
Right.
We already know it's pushed.
Yeah.
It's only going to get better.
More support is coming. It's on the way.
So, I don't know. It's... there have been other mechanics that have like coupled with existing mechanics. Like they had the original partner mechanics. And instead of making new partners, they did spin-offs of it, like partner with. So they had cards that they added more partner commanders, but they didn't cross-pollinate with the original popular.
Right. Yeah, it was its own mechanical spin-off.
Yeah. But then they did it again with just unbridled partner with everyone, and then we got Roxai and
Rograk, yeah.
So it's just like, oh, every deck can now have a 0 mana partner to go with it to bump up your deflecting swats and whatnot.
Right, yeah. Turn on your Mox
Ambers. Yeah.
Add a color to your deck with like trivial cost.
Yeah.
I don't know.
So like that's like they have some ways where they've shown that, oh, we can design around, like, people want more partners. You want Sam and Frodo in your Lord of the Rings. That makes sense. You could make a Sam and Frodo card, or you can make 2 cards and partner them, and they only partner with themselves. Or I think it's something like best buddies. Is that Stranger Things?
That's what the in-universe is called for partner on the Stranger Things. Yeah, when they printed them, a big reason that people were like, oh, they can never print these in-universe is because they said partners with and then a name.
Yeah.
So they just printed them in-universe.
Yeah.
But
So,
I think partner's a good example of them revisiting a mechanic and toning it down.
Yeah.
Because they knew that there was limited design space when it comes to mixing and matching different things. Like with Partner, when they first printed it, they were careful that they didn't combine in ways that were incredibly oppressive. And so when they came back to it a second time, they were like, well, hold on, because it's going to work with all these other ones. We're going to print Partner with specifics. They were like, after that, I feel like they said, no, we toned it down too much. Let's just, again, pull out all the stops. And they were like, here's a second run of all of these partners with others, and they were good.
Yeah.
So, a little too good. I feel like that's kind of what we're seeing here, except without the middleman. They didn't have reasonable lessons and learn cards and then power them down for Strixhaven, even though that's kind of how it felt, and then power them way up for Avatar. It's like we skipped the first step. We just had like kind of middling learn and lesson for Strixhaven, and then they were like, all right, let's juice it. But, I mean, Strixhaven originally can't repeat enough how much the original implementation was great.
Perfect.
Loved it. Yeah. Great and limited, played well in constructed formats. I mean, some of the cards were a little too good. They miss all the time, but...
Yeah. Hard to fault Strixhaven, one of the better sets they've ever done, I will say.
Yeah.
But
I just feel like we're in rough seas with what's coming.
yeah, they're revisiting history and revising it,
Right.
I feel.
Yeah.
We'll see.
Yeah. I mean, we're already seeing it's just going to be how the new cards kind of further enhance things. Maybe we'll see some bans before then. I mean, they keep hitting red and blue cards. Maybe the Lessons deck won't exist in its current iteration.
And I do think if you get rid of like Ancestral Wisdom, I don't want to call for bans in Standard, especially not this early, but like if they get rid of the payoff card, then like who cares? If you don't have Ancestral Recall in your deck, you can have as many lessons as you want.
Yeah.
So maybe it is like a one card problem, but I don't know. Make it a 0 card problem. You've been good at that before, WOTC. Why can't you be good at that now?
I mean, again, I want to give them a little breathing room and say that in design, maybe things are different. Like maybe we're not getting the learn mechanic. Maybe we're getting a differently named learn that can only do X or Y or Z.
Learn for sorcery or something.
Yeah, maybe, I'm not 100% sure. Nobody knows the future except WOTC, and even they don't necessarily know.
If they go back to Strixhaven and don't do learn, there will be riots in the street.
I agree. Yeah.
Like that was one of the perfect things about that mechanic and that block and set. Oh, they don't even do blocks anymore. Yeah. As much as silly as this sounds, going back to Strixhaven without learn would be like going back to Kamigawa without spirits. Except they did that.
Yeah.
So I don't even know.
You don't have to get into all that.
But yeah, I don't know. It's a slippery slope argument in a little bit, but also not really. We're already slipping down this slope. And we know the way WOTC works right now is they push. They push and they push. Feeling good on a Wednesday. Anything else?
No, I think we covered everything pretty much in depth. I mean, if you guys have any opinions on it, if you have anything that you feel like we missed, again, we tried to do a pretty deep dive and cover things relatively expansively from a design standpoint. I mean, we want to just cover what it looks like is coming in the future, how these cards interact with cards in the past, and from a philosophy and execution direction, like the way that they went through with these cards seems like they pushed it a little too far, but Let us know what you guys think.
Will the new Strixhaven be more of the old, or will we have Rog Sai of learn lesson? You know?
Right,
Like,
yeah.
Are we gonna just blow the whole thing open? Alright. This has been 3-for-1 podcast. Only 2 of us today. We probably should have addressed that at the beginning. Chims is out on holiday. So I've been Zemoo.
And Bobbrik.
And thanks for watching.